Again, when you are not in a state of grace, you are out of your natural environment and do not function well. None of you needs an explanation of that. Everything he does becomes a strain because he was not created for the environment that he has made. And I'm going to read it again and change the words. Grace is the natural state of every son of God. When you are not in a state of grace, you are out of your natural environment and do not function well. Everything you do becomes a strain because you were not created for the environment that you have made. That you have made up. You therefore cannot adapt to it, nor can you adapt it to you. I'm going to shift back to the wordings here in the book. He therefore cannot adapt to it, nor can he adapt it to him. There is no point in trying. You hear that? There is no point in trying. The only thing that prolongs the dream is that you keep thinking there is a point in trying. You keep thinking that there is a point in trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You think there's a point in trying to authorize things in the world and authorize things in your life and actually authorize your very own existence. The only reason you can seem to be able to try to authorize your own existence is because you already exist as an interminable state of being, an unaffectable state of being. So, you're trying to duplicate what God has already done. And there's no point in trying. Why? Waste your time. There is no point in trying. Continuing, a son of God is happy only when he knows he is with God. You might say, on God's side, instead of your side, and your rights, and your desire to be an authorizer. Again, it's called yielding. It's called fitting in. It's called letting someone find the little puzzle piece that you are underneath the corner of the sofa and put you into the puzzle, put you into your perfect spot where you complete the picture. And thereby the complete picture becomes you. Continuing, that is the only environment in which he will not experience strain, because that is where he belongs. It is also the only environment that is worthy of him, because his own worth is beyond anything he can make. I'm going to suggest something. When you read these words, change he and one to you, to me or I. That is the only environment in which, if you were reading it, I will not experience strain. Because that is where I belong. It is also the only environment that is worthy of me, because my own worth is beyond anything I can make. Anything I can make up. Continuing with the words in the book. Consider the kingdom you have made. Oh, you don't think you made a kingdom? You don't think you looked out there and decided what that tree was? Well, unless you went within and God revealed to you what that tree is, then you did make it up. You are looking at a definition you have arrived at that you are satisfied with at the moment. That's not a condemnation, it's just a statement of fact that helps bring clarity into view so that you have justification for making a different choice. Not because you're guilty, but because if a choice you have made doesn't work, you really don't want to persist in it. So again, consider the kingdom you have made and judge its worth fairly. Is it worthy to be a home for a child of God? What do you see when you look out there? A hostile world? Is what you're seeing worthy of being a home for a child of God? No. Even more, is that what's actually out there? Or is that what you're believing is out there? Continuing, is it worthy to be a home for a child of God? Does it protect his peace and shine love upon him? When you look out, not necessarily at nature, but at what you see on TV and what your fellow man is saying and doing, or your neighbors, etc. Does it protect your peace? Does it shine love upon you? Does it keep your heart untouched by fear and allow you to give always without any sense of loss? I changed the words. I'm going to go back and read it the way it is in the book. Does it keep his, a child of God's, heart untouched by fear and allow him to give always without any sense of loss? Does it teach him that this giving is his joy and that God himself thanks him for his giving? That is the only environment in which you can be happy. You cannot make it any more than you can make yourselves. It has been created for you as you were created for it. Just as with the puzzle, all of the rest of the puzzle was created for you just as you were created for it. And together, you all constitute the wholeness of being that God is being, and in yielding to that function, to that state of being, you become co-creators with God. Continuing, it, the only environment in which you can be happy, has been created for you as you were created for it. God watches over his children and denies them nothing. Yet, when they deny him, they do not know this, because they deny themselves everything. You, who could give the love of God to everything you see and touch and remember, are literally denying heaven to yourselves. I call upon you again to remember that I have chosen you to teach the kingdom to the kingdom. Pretty sneaky, huh? You can't see the kingdom of heaven, but it's all that is confronting you. And I'm asking you to teach the kingdom to what you're seeing, which doesn't look like the kingdom to you. I'm telling you to bring your capacity to love and to know the truth. I'm asking you to bring that to bear upon what you have created. The definitions you've given to everything, and to love beyond the definitions you've given. Why? Because that's what will illuminate in your mind the truth of what's going on. You've got to love what you've been hating and what you have been afraid of, so that you can bring the essence of illumination to the spot where you had created a fog, a mist, a density, a darkness that didn't let you see what was really there. You could say, I'm asking you to bring the light to the light, except that you thought that the light you're bringing it to was darkness. It's pretty sneaky. It gets you to give your attention where it's needed for a purpose that will undo, in spite of you, the meanings you've applied to everything, and thereby break your fog, break your illusion, break your misperceptions. Again, you who could give the love of God to everything you see and touch and remember are literally denying heaven to yourselves. I call upon you again to remember that I have chosen you to teach the kingdom to the kingdom. There are no exceptions to this lesson, because the lack of exceptions is the lesson. The lesson is that there isn't anything that can be left outside the kingdom of heaven in your mind, because there is nothing outside the kingdom of heaven. There are no exceptions. And as you begin to accept that, and as you begin to be willing to look at everything inclusively, you will bring singularity into view within you. And in singularity, there is no conflict. And so it will bring peace into view as an experience within you. And as what you are giving the benefit of God to changes, so will your experience of yourself change. And you will find nothing there to demean or criticize or search for to scour out. Continuing, every son who returns to the kingdom with this lesson in his heart has healed the sonship and given thanks to God. Everyone who learns this lesson has become the perfect teacher because he has learned it of the Holy Spirit, who wants to teach him everything he, the Holy Spirit, knows. Your right mind wants to teach you everything it knows, because everything it knows is everything you know, and it is not appropriate for you to be experiencing this artificial separation from everything you know. And so it is the Holy Spirit's intent, it is the intent of your sanity, of your right mind, to inspire and cause integration to happen within you. Continuing, when a mind has only light, it knows only light. Its own radiance shines all around it and extends out into the darkness of other minds, transforming them into majesty. I know. You say, I genuinely wish I could do that. Well, then start with your own minds. Start with the trees that you see. Start with the things that are in your immediate experience. And ask the Holy Spirit to help you see what you're looking at through its eyes. Because ultimately you know that they are your eyes, and you don't want to be fragmented. And you don't want to be experiencing a dissonance that cannot really be there. Even if the dissonance is only a matter of ignorance as to what a rock is, or what a flower really is. Make the gift of love to the things that aren't resisting you. Don't pick the most resistant, most difficult person in your life to learn this on. Begin with those individuals and those things that are not providing resistance, and who might even be showing an interest. This does not mean that you should withhold the desire to see someone who is resistant as they truly are, but don't use them as a test case to justify whether doing this is worth it. Mind you, whether there is great resistance or no resistance at all, and now I'm going to read, the majesty of God is there for you to recognize and appreciate and know. Perceiving the majesty of God as your brother is to accept your own inheritance. And I'm going to say, perceiving the majesty of God as your brother, whether he resists it like hell, whether he is unpleasant, unkind, hateful, in response is to accept your own inheritance. Do it so that you might be blessed. And I'll tell you something. When you do it so that you might be blessed, and you receive the blessing, your very presence, your transformed presence, will be an even more reasonable and acceptable justification from your brother's vantage point for maybe believing you. He will find himself more willing to yield because he has an example rather than someone trying to cram the truth down his throat against his will. Continuing, God gives only equally. God gives only equally. If you recognize his gift in anyone else, you have acknowledged what he has given you. Nothing is so easy to perceive as truth. This is the perception which is immediate, clear, and natural. You have trained yourselves not to see it, and this has been very difficult for you. Out of your natural environment, or out of your right mind, you may well ask, what is truth? Since truth is the environment by which and for which you were created, and I will add, and which you have denied by virtue of choosing to think that you're something other than what you are, an independent agent rather than a co-creator with God. You might say that a co-creator with God is someone who stands with God but doesn't get in the way of God's movement. How many of you who have had children who are watching you do something they've never seen you do before and who are very eager and curious, how many of you said, the best way you can help me is just to stand there and watch? You can actually help me make this by not asking me so many questions and watch me make it so that it will be done sooner. And the child becomes a co-creator rather than an interference. Continuing, you do not know yourselves because you do not know your Creator. You do not know your creations because you do not know your brothers, who created them with you. We said before that only the whole sonship is worthy to be a co-creator with God, because only the whole sonship can create like him. Oh. So co-creation isn't an independent act of an independent agent, but is what the whole brotherhood does together. What does the whole sonship do together? It gives evidence of God. And feels its joy at fulfilling its function. And thereby constantly stands at the threshold of the movement of creation, of behold, I make all things new. And you could say, rejoices with God as God sees everything that He has made and recognizes Himself in it. By letting no other mind be in you but the mind that is God, you become the conscious experience of God recognizing Himself in the movement of being. Continuing. Whenever you heal a brother by recognizing his worth, you are acknowledging his power to create and yours. He cannot have lost what you recognize, and you must have the glory you see in him. He is a co-creator with God, with you. Deny his creative power, in other words, if you try to kick him under the corner of the sofa out of the puzzle box, deny his creative power, and you are denying yours, and that of God who created you. You cannot deny part of truth. You do not know your creations because you do not know their creator. You do not know yourselves because you do not know yours. Of course, you got that famous bill of divorcement from your father and lost your identity. But all you have to do is annul it. All you have to do is annul it. After all, there was no way for you to engage in creation after you did that. That's like having no sex and no valid state of being. So you won't get any arguments against an annulment. The church will let you have it. Continuing, your creations cannot establish your reality any more than you can establish God's. You all dream of making your mark on the world, or have at one point or another. You want your actions, your creations, to register the fact that you were here and make your presence real. But you are real before you take a breath or lift a finger or create anything. So your creations cannot establish your reality any more than you can establish God's. You see, your existence doesn't establish the reality of God. God is real. And His reality is what establishes your existence, not the other way around. And God does not look at you and to see how well He's doing. Thank God. If He could see you the way you see you,